The sun was sinking low over the outskirts of the city, spilling long shadows across forgotten alleys and empty lots. It was one of those places people pretended didn't exist, a stretch of broken glass, rusted cans, and silence. Officer Ethan Cole had been driving the back roads for years, patrolling the areas most had given up on. But that evening, something felt different. His radio buzzed with static, and the air carried the faint, haunting sound of a whimper, not loud enough to be sure it was real, but strong enough to make him stop the car. He stepped out, scanning the wasteland behind an old warehouse. The smell of rot and burned plastic hung heavy. At first, he saw nothing but heaps of trash and old rags. Then, in the corner of his eye, he caught a flicker of movement, something small, fragile, half hidden beneath a torn blanket near a pile of garbage. His heart began to pound as he walked closer. And there, lying still on the dirt, was a little girl, her skin paper-thin, her limbs no thicker than sticks, her hair tangled and gray with dust. For a moment, he thought she was gone. Then he saw it, the faintest rise and fall of her chest. If you believe kindness and second chances can change a life, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps stories like this one reach more hearts that still care. Ethan fell to his knees beside her, his breath catching in his throat. The little girl looked no older than 8, wearing a filthy pink dress that barely clung to her frail frame. Her lips were cracked, her face hollow, and her fingers twitched weakly as if reaching for something she'd lost long ago. He whispered her name, though he didn't even know it, hoping she could hear him. Her eyes fluttered open for a split second, revealing a ghostly blue, glazed with exhaustion. That was all he needed. He grabbed his radio, shouting for an ambulance, his voice breaking with urgency. But as he waited, he noticed something beside her, a small stuffed bear, torn and burned on one side, with a name tag stitched on the ear, "For Ivy, love Mom." The words hit him harder than a bullet. He picked it up, brushing off the dirt, and saw a faded photo tucked beneath it, a woman and a little girl smiling in front of a house that looked nothing like this. It was clear this child hadn't always lived in darkness. Something had happened, something cruel. He looked around and saw remnants of a life scattered in pieces, a cracked bowl, a dirty blanket, and footprints that suggested someone else had been there recently. When the ambulance finally arrived, the medics worked fast. Ethan held the girl's tiny hand as they lifted her onto the stretcher, whispering, "You're safe now, sweetheart. You're safe." But even as they drove off, his heart wouldn't calm. He couldn't stop thinking about that name, Ivy, and how anyone could abandon a child like that. That night, he didn't go home. He stayed at the hospital, waiting outside the pediatric ICU, staring at the lights above the emergency doors. Hours passed before a nurse came out and told him she was stable but severely malnourished, and had been surviving on rainwater and scraps for who knows how long. Ethan didn't sleep. He sat beside her bed, watching the monitor beep softly, his mind racing through every case file, every missing child report. By dawn, he found it, a report from nearly 2 years ago. Ivy Malone, age 6, missing after her mother was last seen fleeing an abusive home. The mother's name was Claire Malone. There had been no trace of either since. Ethan's chest tightened. Somewhere out there, a mother might still be searching for this child. Or worse, she might not even know her daughter was alive. Days turned into weeks. Ivy slowly began to recover, her cheeks filled out slightly, her eyes gained light again. But she barely spoke. Sometimes, when she was half asleep, she mumbled words like "mommy" and "don't hit." It broke Ethan every time. He promised himself he wouldn't stop until he found answers. One afternoon, while combing through old reports again, he received a call from a nearby shelter. A woman had been found wandering the outskirts of the city, thin, bruised, and muttering about losing her little girl in a fire. Ethan's hands trembled as he asked for her name. The woman whispered, "Claire." When he walked into that shelter, Claire looked like a shadow, hair matted, eyes empty, hope long gone. But the moment he showed her the photo he'd found by Ivy's side, everything changed. Her eyes filled with tears that rolled down her dirt-streaked cheeks, and her knees gave out. She clutched the photo to her chest, sobbing, "She's alive. My baby's alive." Ethan could barely speak as he nodded. For a long time, they both just cried, a mother who thought she'd lost everything, and a man who refused to let her story end that way. The reunion at the hospital was almost too much to bear. Ivy's eyes widened when she saw the woman standing by the door. There was silence, just the sound of their hearts remembering each other. Then Ivy whispered, "Mommy." Claire ran forward, falling to her knees, holding her daughter like she was holding air, fragile, precious, and unreal. The nurses couldn't hold back tears. Even Ethan had to turn away, his hand covering his face as he broke down quietly in the hallway. For years, he had seen pain, loss, and cruelty, but that moment reminded him why he'd put on the uniform in the first place. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Let's remind the world that compassion still exists, and that one act of care can rewrite a life. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were Officer Ethan? Would you have stopped the car that day? As Ethan walked out of the hospital that evening, the sky burned orange again, just like the night he found her. But now, instead of silence, he could hear laughter echoing softly from Ivy's room.